has his name right across the front and the back of his trunks. They're blue and white. We talked earlier with this young guy yesterday, gentlemen, and it's quite obvious. I'm speaking of Wong. This is the biggest fight of his career.
Well, it certainly is, Tom. He's fought mostly in small towns in Mexico. He's taking a big step up here tonight, but he's hoping that he can come here and make a big splash, looking for a big opportunity. After all, the guy's getting married in December. He wants a paycheck. He wants to bring some money home to his new wife, Consuelo.
Yeah, we told him to go get a souvenir for her over at Disneyland yesterday. I don't know whether he did or not. He caught a pretty good right hand. Little souvenir from Castillo there. Castillo would be a prohibitive favorite, Fernando Paramo, but this kid's got 9 knockouts out of 9 wins.
And his premise is that he can beat Castillo. Wong believes that after having boxed with him during the amateur years, he can still do it.
Yeah, he claims that Castillo can't handle a punch to the body very well. Well, we'll see how that develops as this one gets along.
Well, he better get to starting to get close to Castillo, because out at long range, this is Castillo's fight. This is where Castillo wants to be, out in the middle of the ring and keeping Wong out on the end of his punches.
Yeah, and he's got a 3-inch advantage in that reach department, Rich, all of which will be important, I'm sure. And as we said in our opening comments, Castillo is pretty much of a guy in the spotlight as well as his future as well. He's not old. He certainly is young in boxing, but, you know, losses do funny things to you, and that loss to Machado really set him back, and he felt he was victimized, and as Diaz felt that way. We'll see him later tonight, so it's a very important fight for Castillo.
You know, Wong seems very, very poised for an underdog.
Yeah, he does. Stands right there in pretty good exchange between Wong and Castillo. Castillo in the white again, and Wong in the blue, trimmed with white down the sides.
You know, Castillo, Tom, you might remember we did 2 of his first 3 fights, which were at the Forum as a professional. And he seemed there. I remember we were dazzled with him in his very opening fight against Ricardo Contreras, the very first fight of his career.
Well, you were high in your praise of him, no question about it.
How far along he was, I mean, already. But, you know, you look at his amateur record, 180 amateur fights along the way, and made the Olympic Games team in Mexico. He was very well schooled before he turned pro.
I tell you, Fernando, Wong isn't taking any backward steps.
No, he's not. Actually, he's going forward in the fight.
Wong has come here to fight tonight, no question about it. Very quiet, mild-mannered young man yesterday, and but the only guy in the room that could convince him he spoke his language was Fernando. Maybe that's what made him quiet. Boy, what a busy opening round it's been. It's scheduled for 10. We'll be back in a moment.
Was tortured.
Martin Castillo suffered a cut over his left eye near the end of the round. There you see it was being treated as the round gets underway, round 2. This is what was going on between rounds. Miguel Diaz, one of the best cut men in the business, attending to that cut, and that throws a different spin on the fight already here very early.
It does indeed. You're watching the action as they come out for round number 2, scheduled for 10. That cut seems to be down the side of the eyebrow and down the side of the eye. We'll have to watch it and see whether or not it has a pronounced effect on the outcome of this fight. I tell you, wow, these 2 guys are teeing off on one another. I told you we had an action-packed card.
You know, the difference might be size, because Castillo is much bigger physically.
And he certainly is the veteran and the world-class fighter if you're going to separate these 2 by, you know, adjectives and descriptions like that. But I tell you, Wong, this is a tough-looking kid, Rich.
Yes, he is not wanting for bravery at all. He is wading into the fists of Castillo. I'm surprised, you know, he's a small guy that he doesn't try to make himself smaller, though, Tom, and crouch a little bit. He's coming in straight up to Castillo.
He's down 3 inches in height and reach, but he's standing straight up, as you say. Now, there's a little bob and weave as he moves inside. Castillo comes back with a nice combination.
And usually Castillo is not a fighter that will back up, and in this case, it seems to be backing away.
Well, Wong has acquitted himself well here in a round and a half. How long it will continue, we don't know. But it's quite obvious that he does feel he belongs in here with Castillo. Backs him up, moves him away again.
Castillo has the more varied attack. He can do more things than can Wong. Martin gets around that ring pretty good, and he can use both hands to the body and head.
if you think that there is, and obviously there is, an Oriental cast to Wong, and of course his name is because his grandfather came to Mazatlan as an immigrant many, many years ago as a tailor. And this young man and his family have grown up and lived there ever since.
Right, he moved from China to Mexico.
Traditionally, a lot of people from China came in to build the railroads. We asked him, he said, no, he didn't come to do that.
That's no knockdown. That was a slip and a stumble. No knockdown.
And apparently he came to be a tailor for the railroad workers.
This one is scheduled for 10. Again, a fast-paced round here in number 2, quickly going into the books. We welcome you again to Fight Night on KCAL at the beautiful pond. Another big exchange, round 3 in a moment.
There was no wanting for action in round 2. Look at the furious exchanges these two were engaged in. It was like this for much of the round. Wong and Morales and Castillo rather going toe-to-toe.
Indeed. What was the conversation like in Wong's corner, Fernando?
They were telling me pretty much to bob and weave, come in and also throw the right a lot more. They believe that they can hit him with the right.
Well, Rich, you brought up the subject. He had to shorten himself a little bit because he's standing up, even though he's giving away 3 inches. He probably would be a much more difficult target, bobbing, weaving, trying to work his way inside. He's got a 3-inch disadvantage in the reach, too.
Right. It looks like he has plans to try to come in after a jab, but it's not working. He's getting hit on the way in, Tom. He's getting hit with some clean shots. And, you know, Castillo is a sharpshooter.
Yes. And he's got a total of, 13 knockouts in his 21 wins. But the other kid has won 9 fights and all by KO. Martin kind of picking him off there as he steps in with a good sharp left. Very busy, both fighters. But Castillo seems to have turned it up a notch here now in round number 3 and scoring with more regularity than his Wong.
One of the things that Wong wanted to do was to get the attention of Bob Arum and see if he can get a top promoter.
Yeah.
I think he has.
Well, they brought up an interesting point, Fernando, and you seem to agree readily, though Rich and I were kind of surprised. Boxing's on a downturn in Mexico, is that correct?
It is. In Mexico City, for the first time in almost 40 years, they're not televising the fights after this year. So there is a slowing down.
So this kid has had an inactive career, really. He was off for some 11 months, and we said, why? I said, well, there's nobody to fight. It was just very short money. There was no reason to get in the ring.
They offered him the Mexican title fight, where I believe it was something like $700.
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's quite obvious that his comportment here against Martin Castillo shows that he's a very worthy contender and a very good fighter and a tough kid. We're in round number 3. It is scheduled for 10. This round has slowed a bit. These two guys kind of measuring each other once again. Pretty good left hand by Castillo. First to the jaw, and then he whacks one into the body. Back comes Wong, catching some leather and throwing some back.
You know, actually, when they get into those furious exchanges, that's going to help Wong. That seems to be the only way that he can get to Castillo. When Castillo stands there, plants his feet, and punches with Wong. Otherwise, when Castillo's backing off like this from long range, as you see, he easily gets out of the way of the Wong punches.
And gets nailed coming in because Castillo does pick him off with the longer reach and that sharp left hand.
Wong needs a change of strategy, Tom, I believe.
Well, we'll see what the between round segment will bring for him. We're coming to the end of round number 3 from the beautiful Arrowhead Pond. KCAL 9 Fight Night. Be back in a minute.
Martin Castillo sharpshooting his opponent. He's a very accurate puncher. And as Wong comes in straight up and walks right into the punches of Castillo.
Fernando, how was Castillo's corner? You were eavesdropping a little bit?
They were saying pretty much to use more combinations, that Wong is a sucker for combinations.
Well, let's check and see how my two ringside experts here have seen the fight so far. We're in round number 4. Castillo won all 3 rounds, according to Rich Murata. And for Fernando, you guys, you get dressed in the same closet tonight? Come on, I thought Wong might have won the first round, but
I think he is very, very close on the, especially in the second and the third round.
He's in every round, Tom.
Yes.
He has his moments in every round.
Yes, yeah.
And that's the fallacy sometimes in the scoring, because as the rounds mount up, it looks like a complete rout when
Yes.
it not necessarily is. But he's just not doing enough, in my mind, to win a round.
Another thing that you have to think about Wong is that I believe he's fighting above his weight class.
Yes, he was a super flyweight, and this probably at 117 and a half is as heavy as he's been. But then again, we go back to inactivity in Mexico and nobody to fight.
In the fact that he wants to make a name for himself in the U.S.
Yeah.
He's fighting hard.
Yes, he is. He's determined to put in a good show here tonight. Handsome youngster and very pleasant, very quiet yesterday while we were sitting there talking with him. Of course, as Rich said, he's getting married. Consuelo is his intended. And that's going to happen a couple of days after Christmas. So
He'll be okay. He's a boxer.
yeah. This will be, these are busy times and interesting ones for him, and very important in his career. Things have kind of quieted